YouTube, this is Chester from STEM Welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to continue where we left off in the last tutorial. As you remember, in the last tutorial, we were able to start working with our app that we created. And if you don't remember what I'm talking about, we were able to create this NFC application, and we were able to create scan new items, right? So I'm going to tag an item right now. I'm getting my phone close to a tag, and there it goes. And then now I create a name. I give it a name. I give it a description. I give it a location, storage location, whatever inventory management system that you have, and I give it a category. I save the item, and boom, it saves into the inventory and it creates this nice list. But as you can see, each one of these is a screen, right? This is a screen. This is another screen. This is another screen. Each one of these screens, that's what we're going to do in this tutorial. How to create them, how to manipulate them, and all that good stuff. So that's what we're going to be doing in this tutorial. But before we get there, I have to mention something that I forgot to mention in the last tutorial. You need to install this React Native async storage in order for this to work. I forgot to mention it. If you're getting some errors that you're missing that library from React Native, that's what's happening. Okay, so you need to get this installed to make sure it works. Okay, so this is the layout TSX. And as you can see, if you come from the React Native world, you know React Navigation, Export Router, which came out a few years ago, is the new thing for the filing system and how to get into navigate. Uh, it is on top of the old React Navigation, and that's basically what's happening here. We're creating screens for each one. We're creating one for the index screen, which is this one right there. Scan screen, which is that one right there. Add item is this one right there. And these are TSX because remember they're using JSX. So they're not now I'm more in the TSX TypeScript part of it. Before we were doing JS, as you remember, now we're starting to go more into the TypeScript. Not too deep because I don't want to get types to get in the way. So we're doing it little by little because we have bigger things to worry about that whether to get typing errors. Okay, so we have add item, we have add item right there, item details, is item details right there, edit item is right there, and reports is right there. So these are the screens through the Expo router app layout type of file system. Okay, so that's what's happening here. And if you've come from the React Native, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the name for each one of them. That's the title. That's what the title that you see here. Actually, let me see if open iOS. That's the title that you see right there in NFC inventory management. That's what you see there. If you're going to scan new item, scan NFC tag, that's that one right there. If you, I cannot do that with iOS because it's not going to work because it's an emulator. But with this one, if I do scan no item, right, it brings me into another screen. I tag, and then it brings me into the item details, right? If I want to edit it, now I hit edit, it brings me to the other screen. That's what's happening here. This is the navigation that is taking place, whoops, to all of these, okay? So let's make it a little bit bigger here. Okay, so we continue with the next file. That's layout. Now we're going to the add item. And this one is a little bit more involved, but not too much. Basically, we're bringing the hook. The React imports is the core React library and the use state hook for managing components. Here, these are all the UI stuff, all the UI components. Basically, these are the building blocks for the mobile interface. It's coming from React Native. Here we bring in the navigation utilities that I just mentioned, use router for navigation, and also the parameters for the URL parameters. Okay, here we're bringing from the storage. I just talked about it. It is this one that makes everything possible to be able to store stuff. This is coming from there. This is the export default function. Basically, is the whole functionality that it actually adds every new item in the screen, right? So it's bringing it, extracting the tag ID from the parameters, from the use local search params. And here it's doing the navigation, is using use router for all the good navigation stuff. We just talked about that. Here is these are creating the uh, it's item data is a item and then a setter using the use state hook, and basically is creating a state object with empty values. As you can see, there are empty values for now for the inventory item, and depending on the inventory item is going to populate it. It's with whatever name, whatever description, whatever location, whatever category, and it starts with a quantity of 1. That's the default value. The save item is that the save item function. It basically it validates to make sure that a name must be present. It ensures that there is a quantity that is actually a real number. Okay, this is what's happening here. Here is adding the timestamps for each one. It tells you when it was created, when it was updated. This is happening right there. This is just making sure that it worked. Whether it gives you basically user feedback. This is the user interface design. It gives you the add new item, and let me just show you here. No, it's I gotta tag it first. Oops, wrong one. Return to home. Let's do it, and let's try again. Scan new item. There you go. And basically, where you can add, you can edit. This is happening here, right? So this is the user interface, the description that you saw me enter the item description, the quantity. It has to be numeric because we're dealing with actually numbers, right? Here's the location, enter the storage location. It's all text. And nothing that you have not seen if you've been doing some React Native. This is where the user interface is scrollable, remember, because we're able to go to scroll. So we have to put it in a scroll view. And here starts the styling of it, the padding, the font size, color, labels, text input, text area, the buttons, 2 buttons, right? The save button and then the save button text. Actually, there's only one button. That's the text and that's the save button. And that's basically it. You're going to see these repeated over and over again because they all follow the same format, right? If we go into the edit item, you're going to see basically very similar. Bring in the hooks, bring in the UI stuff, touchable opacity for the button, scroll view to be scrollable, text input for the input area, alert for the dialogues, view, just views, is like div if you coming from the web. The import, the parameters and the navigation. These are this is what basically what makes the navigation through export router. Get the items from the storage and be able to save the item all as well. Same thing in just like we did before, extract the ID from the parameters, navigation, keeping track of the state or loading and set loading is the default value of true. And then here is the setting the state with all the empty stuff that we just talked about a minute ago. This is the original item. Is set the original item is default null, is empty at the beginning. Use effect is an asynchronous function, load item, and this is what's gonna keep track of when something happens. Is going to either get the inventory, is gonna extract the ID from the function that we saw earlier, and here's everything is going to be populated. Um, Basically all the empty values and default values, these are where they are, and it's going to complain if item was not found. Here's just loading the item, extracting and getting the stuff from router. It updates the item, makes sure that 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 there is a name. Is going to do the validation to make sure that there's a quantity name. Original item. Just gonna throw an error if it's not there. And updated item. Basically same thing that we saw before. Here you have an unpressed button with the item details, and this is where it's happening here. And the loading, making sure that it's keeping track of the loading container. Here starts the user interface for that particular, just like we did in the last one. For each one, for quantity, location, category, and it shows a touchable opacity. This is where the buttons are. And the styling, just they all have the same style and same color, so you're not gonna see anything different there. The index, this is the index right here, and basically same thing, bringing the same hooks. Again, UI building blocks for the buttons, flat list is going to be a big list. So we're bringing flat list because it can manage big lists a lot better. These are all the same thing that we did saw before. The use state hook to get the inventory, set the inventory, loading, set the loading, and the navigation. Get all the inventories from the storage from we saw that before. Use effect, same thing, it loads once when it mounts, and UI all of it to make it look pretty. Okay, generate reports. There's a different screen. Styling, same. They follow the same format. Okay, and now we get into item details. Item details and edit item are very similar. 90% same thing. Like I said, all of these start to repeat themselves. You're seeing the same patterns. Uh, Getting stuff from storage, get inventory items, save the inventory, and now it has a delete inventory item because this is the item details. This is this one right there where you're able to edit or you're able to delete, and that's what's happening here. Okay. And use effect, same thing that we did before. The tag ID, load item, just like we did. Now it's handling a update quantity and it's creating a max to make sure that it's real or not. It's making sure the validation whether it's saving it, and if it doesn't, if it fails, it's gonna throw an error. This one is the function that handles the delete item, is this one right there. And you're gonna see that when you hit delete item, it's gonna say text cancel, style cancel, and all of that good stuff. And then gets into the user interface. Same thing like we saw before, same thing. And now we get into the reports. Very similar, same thing again. Almost exact like one or two of the other ones, same thing. So you can see, and this one is the one that produces the CSV report. It generates a report for CSV. When you hit, let me just show you really quick so you see it. Return to home. This one right there. This is when you hit that generate reports and the bottom green right here. This is where it brings you here, okay? So that's what's happening there. So just hit it so you see it. And that is here. It's the inventory report and categories, refresh data. You see it right there, refresh data button. It's a touchable opacity because when you touch it, it kind of changes. The touchable opacity makes that happen. And all of the names, items by category, generate CSV, inventory summary, this is that one right there. Total items, you see it there? Total quantity, categories, categories. And now it goes into items by category and it gets into this other stuff coming from the flat list. You see the list right there. And there's this is the flat list right there. Okay? And styling. Styling, nothing different. Same thing. Now we go into the scan. And scan TSX is the main one there. But nothing, the only difference here is that this is where the NFC manager and the NFC events first appear because they're using, they're actually doing the actual scanning of the item, of the tag. So this is where they're being imported, and the functions similar to the other ones, the states, same thing again, but the thing here is NFC, and here the hard reset. If something happens and you want to go back, we do a hard reset. It forces a complete reset of the NFC manager. Clean up and what I'll show you here is where it makes sure that it's available or not. It's an asynchronous function that is going to follow, where is it? Start scanning. This is where it gets initialized. Previews. There it is. Await. And await again. We need to register to make sure that we found it or not. And here's just the stop scanning function. Also a synchronous function is awaiting right there to make sure that the NFC manager is from the import that we got from the NFC manager. The function that handles the tag when it found something, because sometimes you're gonna find a tag that is already in place. If it reads the ID, and let me show you really quick. Sometimes it will find the ID. Um, let me show you. When I tag it, oops, let's go back to return home now. Let's try again. You're gonna see that ID right there. Sometimes, like in this case, he found an ID that he knows is already there. So that's what's happening. So it will check to make sure that the ID is the real one, or is it a new one, or is already in the inventory. And if it's already in the inventory, it allows you to increase the quantity. Okay. If it's a new item, it's a new item. And navigation, the push, to make sure it goes back to the item details. And if it's, this is exactly what I was just talking about. If it's a new item, it adds the item. If it's already item details, it's going to go into item details, and that's where the navigation is happening. And the use effects, timeout, you don't want to, after a while, if it goes here for a long time, it's going to have a timeout that is going to stop. And after a while, it will return home to the home, and that's what's happening here. Um, the, the reset, hard reset, and the making it look pretty, the UI, and the styling. And finally, we get to storage. And here are just three of them: save inventory item, get inventory item, get all inventory items. That's all it is, and delete inventory item. That's all it does. And basically, we're bringing the async storage that I made you here install. This is where you're going to use it right there. You're importing it right here. And this is where we store the inventory data. This is where we retrieve the inventory data. This is where we get all the inventory data, and this is where we delete all the inventory data. And voila, this is all it is. I'm going to put this into my GitHub, and you can uh, use it to your heart's content. But this is the end of this tutorial. If you like this tutorial, please click the like box, subscribe to my channel. I will see you next time with another tutorial. Take care.